And then he actually has pictures of, you're on the street where they went conservation. And you get the data that says, in the end, the homeowner had a value-added situation on their hands in cost, reduction of cost, by going conservation versus cluster. The developer charged less, rather than cutting the driveway and saying, okay, we're going to put a cluster of houses down here, and the little entranceway that has a sign on it is the open space. It was a thought process that 9 out of 10 times at the end, nobody went, oh, this really stinks. I wish we had put a cluster development in instead. It was value added from the developer to the homeowner, to the environment, to the community. And he has not only documentation, but visuals that I think would be really instrumental, because it's really, when you start talking, oh, we're going to, mandate conservation versus cluster, that's a huge difference. It really isn't when you're talking about smaller parcels of land. It's a finesse. Large tracts of land, it can be a huge difference. But here we don't have that. So I think it would be really great for the public option to get that visual in your head, because, as Chris said earlier, you hear the word conservation. Some people go, yes, conservation, more conservation in Jamestown. And other people go, oh, no, they're going to be telling me what to do and sticking their nose into my business. But when they really see it's a finesse, a smaller finesse with a value-added end product, people are usually happy.
But it's a mandatory finesse.
But I think, Barry, if you have that option of going one or the other, and you do the homework on the plus on the conservation, people say, wait a minute, this is a no-brainer. This is much cheaper for me. It looks much nicer.
I agree.
Right.
I agree that
In some cases,
if there's some natural incentives,
Sure.
I fully understand the economic incentives, shorter roads, all those. On the other hand, if the developer's vision is to put in large houses, he wants to put in $2 million houses, and that's his vision. Don't put in $2 million houses on quarter-acre lots, except in Washington, D.C. You put them on 1 acre lots or bigger. So if that's his vision of what he wants in the development, then I don't think the conservation easement necessarily, obviously it depends on the land lots, is what he's going to want to do. And we're not going to give him that opportunity, other than to come in and make his case. But we'll decide, and that's my objection.
Isn't the thesis in both cluster and conservation development that, yes, you may only actually have individual ownership of, say, that quarter acre, but you have effectively property rights which extend beyond that quarter acre because you've conserved the land around you in some manner. So you have land around you that will never be touched, and then it comes down to, do you make an adjustment, an incentive to have if a quarter acre isn't big enough for a $2 million house to fit on, do you make those slightly bigger or something? I'm not sure. We'd have to model that to see, but I think that it seems to me that you do have advantages in the property that's around you, and you know that nobody's ever going to touch that property because it's now in the conservation matrix for those particular homes in that development. So to me, it's really a matter of do people really need to have a borderline around that property, or would you be satisfied living next to a piece of conservation land?
That's true. There is some percentage of people who would be perfectly happy doing that. I can just tell you from my own experience, I want that distance to the next house. I don't want the house 200 yards. And I've seen houses that were close to $1 million where you could stand between them and reach out with both hands and touch the bay windows in the two houses.
But
that's not what we're talking about here. I'm exaggerating. I understand that. But there's some people that want 2 acres, and some people are perfectly happy on a quarter acre.
Is it fair to say that conservation development versus cluster development would allow, if it made sense from a topographic and landscape feature, et cetera, standpoint, that you could put conservation land between each lot? You don't have to cluster the lots like this.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, that's one of those principles
in the subdivision regs, when you review the type of open space that's being preserved, one of the principles is to try to make the open space as accessible to the residents of the new subdivision as possible. So that they're not all living in one little ghetto, for example, and all the open space is somewhere else. You want to try to link the open space, linear trails, connect it with other open spaces in the town, greenway fashion. That's really one of the founding principles.
So that fits the comprehensive plan's desire to maintain the rural character.
Right. It's not a concentration of density.
You know, Jamestown is a pretty peculiar place because it's only 9 square miles. And we're all familiar with the history. The history of subdivisions in Jamestown started with Shawneetown. And then almost all of us can visually see every single subdivision that has taken place in Jamestown. So, give me some examples of bad subdivisions in Jamestown, other than Jamestown Shores.
Hey, I live there.
But it was, you know, that was a mistake. Jamestown Shores was a mistake, obviously, in retrospect. But other than Jamestown Shores, give me some examples of bad subdivisions in Jamestown.
Michael, I think what you're getting at, you really don't know what.
No, I think that what I'm getting at is by the facts of the actual market taking place, and the people that own the land, the people who are willing to spend the money to develop the property, the people who are willing to spend the money to buy the property. I don't see any bad subdivisions in Jamestown. And some of it was serendipity, you know, like East Passage and West Reach. They ate up a lot of land, they reduced the density, it's 2-acre zoning, and in fact, all those wells are pretty good. All the septic systems in those 2 subdivisions work very well. You know, there's no history of well failures or septic system failures. I see those as 2 as very successful subdivisions.
But I guess what I would say is you don't know what they could have been if they.
I do know what they could have been.
No, what they could have been if you
They
followed
could have been 52-unit multifamily.
No, I agree with you. What I'm saying,
Whatever.
there may have been some latitude under conservation planning to do something different, which might have been even better than what's there now. We don't
Like
know
that.
that. I don't know, we don't know that. You'd have to start from scratch and look at the natural contours of land, all the features. And something may have been generated that would be better than what's there now and cost a lot less and the added value.
Seriously.
I don't know. So we're used to what we
But again, my point is this. If it ain't broke, why are we trying to fix it? What's broke about subdivision regulation in Jamestown?
I think we're trying to be a little more progressive. I would suggest that.
I think we're trying to make people jump through some more hoops.
Can I just insert, because it's a private fight?
Yeah.
A couple things. One, when I looked at this and got confused, I began to think that it wasn't density neutral, and I began to get really upset. So if there is, I would be really, really opposed to a density bonus, is what I'm saying in terms of incentives. So there are other kinds of incentives, that's one thing. But I don't want this to turn out to be something that encourages more development and greater density all over the island, and then we're still trying to figure out how to get down Narragansett Avenue without taking off everybody's, mirrors. So that was my, my first concern is how much could this expand? So that's why I'm leaning in the direction of the mandatory thing. But the other thing is that I talked to Chris and he suggested I go to Randall Art's website, and I went to a couple of them and did a few slideshows and looked at some of the development, site plans, and it was terrific. Now, the real question, and first of all, I want to say, yes, we should have Scott Miller's presentation, whatever that is. We need more visuals. Because I think it's critical, but the other thing is that, art is dealing with, 6,000 acre and 1,500 acre, and, we don't have that. What do we have? We had the potential for 17, 17 houses, but before, the Cottrell Farm, before it was bought by its current owners. Somebody was looking at that with the idea of, that would have been, I would have been really wanting to have conservation development in place for if that went in another direction. We have a number of parcels that could go in another direction, and I agree that doing it in